This is the Gamecock Corner, brought to you by Randy Jones and Associates, your hot spot for everything you need to know about Jacksonville State football. Time to get the scoop on this week's matchup with your host, Shane Wilson, and the legendary voice of the Gamecocks, Mike Parris.
Well, the 2026 college football season almost underway. You can probably not believe it any more than I can, and I'll see if Mike Parris can believe it at all, but it's here. And we've got another season of the Gamecock Corner underway, so let's talk some JSU football right now with the voice of the Gamecocks for multiple decades. He knows more about them than anybody else, so let's get his thoughts and opinions on what's going to be happening with the Gamecocks in 2026. Mike Parris joins us this morning. Mike, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, sir. Appreciate the offer to join you. Yeah, I guess I can believe it's football season. The older I get, the quicker it gets here. So, as old as I am, it gets here in a hurry now.
Yeah, it definitely does. And probably one of the better opening games that you guys have had in quite a while. So we'll get to that in a minute. But first, take us through what's going to be familiar about JSU in 2026. What's going to be new with JSU in 2026, and what we might be able to expect, because Conference USA media was pretty kind to him a couple of weeks ago.
I think we have a chance that, let me put it this way. Let me back up. I'll put it this way. I think talent-wise, this will be our fourth year to play FBS football. This is probably the most talented team top to bottom we've had in the 4 years. Now, how that translates into wins and losses, of course, remains to be seen. But I think we're talented. It starts with Caden Creel back at quarterback, started the last 9 games last year. And remember, he hadn't played in 2 years because he redshirted his first year in 23, then didn't see any action in 24. So last year's the first time he had played since his senior year in high school. And I just think he's going to get better. You can tell a difference in him in camp going into the season. So I think it starts with him. We've got some holes to fill offensively. We lost the nation's leading rusher in FBS football last year. Hopefully our wide receiver room's a little deeper than it was last year. We've got to replace some tight end. We do have experience returning on the offensive line, and we also have some young guys, I think, that will be able to help us. Defensively, this time last year, we know much about our secondary because everybody was new. But we've got experience back there, a couple of guys in Traquan Fagans and Caleb Nix that are on watch list for national awards and that sort of thing as the season begins. So we've got some holes to fill, I think, up front on the defensive line. Jawan Campbell, about the only real experienced guy returning there. Linebacking core, we've got 2 guys that played a lot last year back there. So in special teams, we got the preseason Conference USA Special Teams Player of the Year and our kicker, Garrison Ripa. Connor Donaghy's back as our punter. Averaged right at 40 yards a kick last year. So we're pretty good hands there, I think, special teams as well. So I think one poll, we were picked 4th. I've seen this as high as 2 in other polls, but I think this is a team that, when it's said and done, can't contend for a Conference USA title.
Well, we can't wait for it. Now, last year, when we did this first Gamecock Corner, the name Cam Cook was not even, I don't even think I remember you mentioning Cam Cook. He came along, he busted out early in the year. Is there any portal pickups that you see that might be this year's Cam Cook?
We don't have any portal pickups, but we've got, I think there's 4 guys right now that it'll be a 4-headed monster, at least to begin with, and it may just be 2, but, in the game Saturday, who knows? But I think there'll be 4 guys that are going to get a chance back there, and it may be one of those things where if one guy's got the hot hand during a game, they stay with him, and he'll get most of the touches. But right now, I think it's still a work in progress. Christian Lando, Jalen Likely, 2 guys that have experience. Justin Savage, 3rd guy. They all had some carries last year behind Cam Cook, and you got a couple of new entries that may factor in there before it's all said and done as well.
Now, is there anybody else at any other position that be picked up in the portal that we might need to be aware of?
I think we've got some guys, offensive line and defensive line. You're always looking for linemen, especially up front defensively. I think we've got a guy or 2 there that can probably help. In fact, I think on the offensive line, we may have 2 portal guys, Ryland Bragg, who is an Alabama native and actually been at North Alabama. I think he may, if he doesn't start, he'll play a lot of snaps on the offensive line. And you've got some other guys that'll play some up front defensively as well that I don't know how much to begin with, but I think before it's all said and done that they'll be contributors in a big way for us.
All right, so now let's talk about your opponent coming up this weekend. They are obviously very formidable, even though the last time you played them, you both were at the FBS level. So you still got North Dakota State as an FBS school, but they're still every bit the North Dakota State they've always been, and you guys have moved up. So talk about the dynamics there. Talk about what kind of team they've got and what you're expecting for Saturday.
Well, there is a little history. Go back to the Division II days. We played them twice in the playoffs then and beat them both times. And then we played them in the FCS championship game in 2015. They had some guy named Carson Wentz who played pretty good that day. We saw why he would later become a top 3 pick in the NFL draft. So we haven't played them since 2015. They went on to continue to pretty much control things, dominate things in FCS football. And everybody's wondered, I think, for the last several years when they were going to make the move, and now they've done it, going to the FBS level. They're joining the Mountain West Conference. And you're right, they'll be every good as what they were, every bit as good as what they were. You know, they've had success. Days gone by as an FCS program. They beat some Power 4 programs, FBS time when they were at that level. So it'll be tough going into play inside in the Fargo Dome. Seats somewhere around 20 to 22,000, and they pack it out. It'll be loud and everything. So it should be a great environment and a lot of excitement, and it adds to it in the fact this is their first FBS game as well as we go in there to play them Saturday.
All right. Well, we can't wait for it. Now, one thing I want to do this year that we have not done in previous years is, obviously you have spent a lot of time behind that mic at those JSU games. Is there one particular opening game that stands out in your mind over the years as being particularly memorable, since we have this year's opener coming up Saturday?
Well, I will go back to 1992 as our last year in Division II. That one sticks out because we ended up in a tie with Alabama A&M, and we're riding home after the game trying to figure out, we're going through the schedule trying to break it down based on the way we had played in that season opening game. And we thought we'd be lucky to win 6, maybe 7 games and probably wouldn't be in the D2 playoffs that year. And then we go on to win the national title when it was all said and done. So it just goes to show you, the season is long. I'll put it that way. And now we play even more games in the regular season than we did then. And that one just sticks out from that standpoint because I was just thinking about that earlier this week, as a matter of fact.
All right, well, we'll kick it off from the Fargo Dome at 4:30 on Saturday afternoon. TV on CBS Sports Network, but obviously also on your radio at 102.9 WKXX. So, Mike, we'll hear from you again on Saturday, and then we'll talk about it in the Gamecock Corner next Wednesday.
Look forward to it. Thanks, sir.
Gamecock Corner is brought to you by Randy Jones and Associates.
Hi, I'm Randy Jones, your hometown trusted choice insurance agency. Randy Jones and Associates knows the playing field, and we have been proudly serving communities across North Alabama for 46 years. Having the right protection on the field is important. The RJA team of experienced agents will help you find affordable, customized insurance coverage for your family, business, and future. Stop by a local Randy Jones Associates office for a free, no-obligation quote or complimentary policy review.
Join us next week for the Gamecock Corner, brought to you by Randy Jones and Associates, a production of WKXX Sports.